Good morning. Good morning. Hope everyone's having a great morning. I'm going to keep clicking buttons and making sure that I'm testing my channels here and making sure that we are live. All right. I see that we are live. I'm front and center in the screen. It says that it's a better solution if you go portrait versus horizontal. So that's what I did. I went portrait. All right, guys, I'm going to start live on TikTok here, and we are going to get started. Get a blank piece of paper, get a computer, get notes, get a pen, get coffee. We've got about an hour slated. We're not going to go for an hour, but it's going to be packed full of information, and I hope this really helps you in planning, helps you in looking at your strategy, looking at your data, your content, looking at everything. I'm almost trying to do too many things. All right. Excellent. All right, we are officially live here. I'm going to stop the music there. Guys, thank you very, very much for jumping on live, whether you're on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, or Threads. I am hopefully showing up live in all of those places right now. So thank you very much for joining in. I wanted to take some time and really kind of peel back the layers a little bit on what I believe are the top 34 topics that are brought up on a consistent basis when I'm meeting with business owners. The information that we're going over, those on TikTok see my notes down here. When I look at the consistent notes that I take when I have meetings with business owners all across North America, there are common denominators. So many so that I thought it would be a good idea to put a live together to talk about the top 34 topics that are consistent across the board, right? So you might be a startup. You might have inherited your business from your parent. You might be a new money, I like to say a new money owner, where you have cash, you came into cash, you have wealth, and you purchased business or businesses. And maybe you didn't know everything about that business, but you're there now. And everyone in between. Guys, thank you very much for joining on TikTok. I appreciate you. We're across all channels right now, so thank you very much. Drop in the comments and let me know where you are on planet Earth. Thanks again for joining in. I'm going to try to do a screen share here, and so you guys have a visual other than just me talking. But again, we'll kind of go through a couple of things here. We want to talk about growth. And so many companies are at so many different levels of growth in their company, right? I talk with business owners that are all over the place, from multi-billion-dollar corporations that are still having issues with talent acquisition, all the way down to small mom and pops that are growing their business. Maybe they've got 8 or 9 employees, maybe they've got 2 or 3, and they're really thinking about that next level. And all the things that come in and around that. So we're going to talk about growth. We're going to talk about budget. Budget's a real big one. It's a big one in my world. Excuse me. It used to be surprising. It's not really surprising anymore. The number of businesses are, like I said, it used to be alarming, that do not have an actual documented budget. And you would think, oh, that's pretty common sense. I've got a budget at home. That's how I run my bills, and that's how I operate. And that's cool, but that's not how a lot of businesses run. So we're going to get into budget. That's number 2, growth, budget, operations. We're going to talk about some operational issues. Expectations, that's a big one. Setting expectations across the board, that's a very, very big one. We're going to talk about leads. Everyone loves the leads, right? We love to make sure that when we're spending dollars, those dollars are coming out in quality leads. Sometimes with the right expectations, certain dollars don't generate leads, and that's okay too. But we're going to go through all that: growth, budget, operations, expectations, leads, review. Okay. We're going to talk about the reviews in your business and how important they are. Next is social media. That's a hot topic. I put it lower on my list, but it's always one of the top ones on the list. Guys, again, real quick shout out. If you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Threads, X, on TikTok, guys, thank you all so much for joining. I really, really appreciate it. Drop me a comment. If you're on one of these channels, jump on one of the other channels and give me a follow. I would really appreciate that. And then the last two things are content and media. We're going to talk about content and media. A lot of businesses still trying to, figure out the content game, if you will, and while still trying to figure out media, if not still wasting a lot of dollars in media. So guys, real quick, I have a chat on here. If no matter what device you're on, I should be able to see your chat. So please do drop a chat on whatever channel you're on, and I will see those right here on my dashboard. And also want to make sure that, see if we can do notes. Let's see, I'm going to put testing 1, 2, 3. Guys, if you see that on your screen, let me know. Let me know if you see that testing 1, 2, 3 on your screen. If so, it'd be kind of a cool place to keep up with notes, so we could kind of check that out. Drop me a comment and let me know if you see that on the other side. Guys, if you're on TikTok, if you're a share person, please hit share and send this out to other people. It really helps us reach more people. So here we go, guys. We're going to get into the content right now. I'm going to screen share. Here we go. Let's see. Can I scoot this over? No, it's not going to let me do it. Okay, so I will figure this. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so let's see. Okay, perfect. There we go. So right now, again, all the people on all the channels, thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate you. We're talking about 34 topics that I talk about with small business owners on a regular basis. Okay. So it's 9:07. We got this slated till 10 o'clock. We're not going to go that long, but I do want to kind of walk through and talk through each of these points. Whether you're watching this live, which a majority are not, or you will watch it when I package it and pre-record it and send it to you, that's perfectly fine too. I want to make sure that you're able to watch this video and take away some value that's going to help you in your business, help you in your planning, maybe get you to look at your business and operations on a different level, in a different way. And so I highly recommend that if you have any feedback, drop it in the comments. And like I said, thanks again for following. So growth. Some of the top things, when I meet with a small business owner, I have a piece of paper, again, on other channels on the video view, you might see this, but I take kind of the same notes. I kind of draw bubbles on the paper. I ask some of the same questions, and some of those questions are the following. So crew size, I'm always asking how large of a crew that a business has. And specifically when I say crew size, I'm being a little bit partial to home services and home service businesses. It's still relevant, right? Whether it's crew, whether it's your team, it's your leadership team, the equation is still the same. Do you have the right people in place currently to actually get to the goal or goals that you've set forth? Sometimes you do. You just don't actually have your right people in the right place. You need to move some things around. You need to continue some training. In other cases, you need to hire. You need to hire maybe a handful of people, and so that's a big hit on the P&L. And so when you're looking at growth in a business, I always ask. Business owners always tell me. I say always. I'll paint a broad brush, but a lot of time, I don't remember the last time I had a conversation with a business owner and they said, I don't really want to grow. We're good where we are. Everyone always wants to grow. The question is, are they their own obstacle of getting to growth? or are they putting obstacles in the way of their company growing? So looking at the crew size, looking at revenue over the last 24 months. If you're a small business owner and you're watching this right now and you have not taken a deep dive into your revenue, your annual revenue over the last 24 months, if not 36 months, and taken a real deep dive into breaking that revenue into bite-sized pieces. Now, you might be, again, I'm talking to a lot of different audiences here. You might be, hey, TikTok people, thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. If you love small business, if you support small business, drop a heart on here, hit share this out. I really, really appreciate it. Guys, we're live on all channels, and I really appreciate it. Whether you're watching this live or you're watching it recorded later, I appreciate your attention, so thank you. Businesses want to grow. The question is, are they their own obstacle, or is their leadership who is in the actual way of growth? Breaking down your revenue and taking we've all heard working on the business versus in the business, right? You have got to dedicate time as an owner, as a leader in your business, to actually stopping the noise, stop the meetings, no phone calls, no notifications, stop. And just get into a place where you're actually going through the data. You have to look at your numbers. The last 36 in some cases, specifically coming out of COVID, that was an anomaly year. But that being said, a 2 to 3 year history is a pretty good idea. Now, business owners are going to say, well, there's a 10-year history, or I'm 30 years old, or whatever, but that's not the most recent snapshot of what you've got going on, right? You might have had a leader 10 years ago that was really great, but then they died or they moved on. And then you're so egotistical in your own way that you haven't replaced Johnny or Sally, and you haven't figured out why operations has really just fallen through the cracks. If you're watching this and you're like, well, this is so stupid, like that's a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses I talk to, key people were in places, they hit record numbers, everyone kind of rang the bell, if you will, and then that person left, and they got screwed on a commission check or whatever the deal is, and they weren't as secure in that business as they thought, and they left, and they took that tenacity and that energy and those numbers, they took it with them, and business owners have a hard time sometimes kind of figuring that part out. So guys, again, thank you very much for joining across all channels. Please do follow Cole Evans on whatever channel you're on, or Evans Company, Cole Evans or Evans Company on all the channels. Take a second and write that down. I would appreciate that follow very much. So looking at your annual revenue, and then you see here on the visual, I've got breaking these or connecting these two along with budget. There is a graph that has to be created that you as the business owner need to understand, that the alignment of revenue and the alignment of budget, right? And then that's quickly going to add into expectations. But when you're looking at the size of your team, you're looking at where you're trying to grow with short and long-term goals, you're looking at your revenue year over year, quarter over quarter. Is there seasonality in the business? Is there not? Do you get a chunk of your business from this thing that you sell, but you're not getting a lot of business from this other thing that you sell, right? Really getting in the weeds with your numbers. And then setting goals for the year. Look, I have lots of leadership, guru, blah, blah people in my feeds. And here's what I will tell you when it comes to goals. There are lots of different thoughts about goals, right? In my experience in both sales and marketing for over 20 years, and failing and growing businesses, setting short and long-term goals is vital. It's extremely, extremely important. Now, I think there are levels, right? There are levels that people are at when it comes to goal setting. You might be just intense about goals, and it's almost, I mean, I've seen some planners that are almost like a daily, and there's an Excel, that literally that are in their downloads, and you set your goals up to daily tasks. That is not me. That is not me. That being said, what you don't see here on this floor beside me is a dry erase calendar of the entire month and what's going on every week and every day of that week. And I like to look at things at a little bit of a higher level, not put so much pressure on the day to day. Okay. So I say all that to say there are different levels, there are different spectrums of budget setting and of goal setting, not budget setting, of goal setting. So make sure that you either figure out who you are on that spectrum, or you get real about getting someone on your team that can own goals. Okay, it's very, very important. The next one, and it is completely connected to it, is pacing to goals. Okay, so goals are fine if you set them and they've got data and intention built behind them, but if you're not pacing to goals, right? So what does that mean? It means that you want to make $120,000 this year, so that's $10,000 a month. And in order to do that, you've got to hit $2,500 a week. 2,500 times 4 equal 10. And so we know that there's a couple of months where that's a little different, but just stick with me. Being able to know that by first quarter, the third month of the year, January, February, March, that's another thing. A lot of businesses, owners, people running huge businesses have no concept of a quarter, right? They're really good at that thing. But if you said, well, how did you finish last quarter? It's like, they have to almost kind of process for a second. Again, painting a broad brush, but these are the people I speak with on a regular basis. Pacing to goal. At the end of January, February, March, if your business doesn't have seasonality to it, if it's not up and down, if it's not a seasonal business that really yields to summer sales or spring, et cetera, right? If you have a consistent business that has recurring revenue, et cetera, you can look at, in this example, of $10,000 a month to pacing. At the end of first quarter, at the end of March, are you $30,000 on your number, right? 10, 10, 10. Are you pacing to hit your budget? The worst thing in the world is to set, not the worst thing in the world, that's a little melodramatic, right? A bad thing in business is to set an expectation and then to never talk about it again, or to set it, and it is good to post it up in the building for people to see it, but then to never talk about it again. You never talk about it, but you do talk about how we're not hitting numbers. And everybody knows that you're going to hire that person, but now they're not being hired, right? So they can start putting these things together. You have to put the goals together with intention. You have to post the goals in the office. People do not like that one at all. It's a big one. It's a big one. Why is your revenue or where you're trying to take the company such a secret? Why is it so? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. What you're doing is hurting yourself. Your ego is getting in the way of putting up really strong internal communications about where the company is currently and where you're going. I did some content on this about a week ago. If you're not a numbers person where you're like, I'm not telling my team that we're doing $80 million a year, or they're going to want, whatever your thought process is, that's fine. Do percentages. Percentages still talk the same talk, right? 18% of our business comes from selling this thing, but we do know that 8% comes from here, right? You can talk about percentages. Regardless, get more transparent about your goals. When you put communication out to your team, and no matter what you think, no matter if they're hybrid, no matter if they're all coming in every day, no matter if they're all virtual, you never see them, it doesn't matter. What they want overwhelmingly is leadership. They want to know that they're on a team that has a goal and they're all working toward a goal. Okay. All right, guys, I've got to get a reset here. It's 9:20. I got to stay on my time limit. I'm already off time. I feel like I'm in a sales meeting, not a sales meeting, but a meeting with an owner, and we're walking through the list. Guys, thank you very much. If you're on TikTok, if you're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, or Threads, I really appreciate your attention. Whether you're watching this live right now or you are watching this pre-recorded, I thank you for your attention. If you are not following me, you like small business marketing, operations, how to build strategies for winning results, how to not overspend in advertising, but to spend with intent, this is your channel. This is your place. So follow Cole Evans, follow my agency, Evans Company, and stay connected. Next, we're going to talk about budget. Okay. So budget over the last 24 months. And then I broke these down because they should be looked at completely individually. The last 24 months ago, right? 2 years ago, last year's budget, this year's budget, and next year's budget. And what do we want to see there? We want to see that as a marketer, I want to see, is this owner being serious about funding their expectations? The other side, as an owner, as a business owner, I want to see the reality of, is the growth, no matter what the marketer wants, right? Does the growth in this area to sell more of this widget that we talked about earlier, does it really need a 10% lift in marketing spend, as an example, right? This is at 8%, as the example went earlier. In order to get this to 12%, we make X more margin. So we need to fund this at Y, right? Getting in the weeds with your numbers, okay? You're either an analytical person or you're not, right? Get in the room with people that are, get some whiteboards, get some serious downloads on your reports over annual, over quarters, definitely a couple of years. I say 3 at max. And really, really, I know you know your business, but maybe not as well as you think you do, right? There's always a story in the data when you pull it apart, okay? Next is operations. Guys, if you have calls coming into your business, it is your job to listen to the phone call. You have to. I cannot tell you how important it is. I had a client about a year ago, and they were receiving a huge call volume, and I got access to their phone. We were setting up tracking numbers for their campaigns, and we were having a conversation about conversions. And so, again, thinking about our funnel here, we're spending dollars, we're generating new content, we're doing all these things. Leads are coming in, more traffic's coming into the website. A lot of stuff is happening, more activity than years historical past, right? More stuff's happening at the top of the funnel, but when they're getting further through, when they're making the phone call, the conversion's falling off. So I've worked with owners in both, in both, and they are, I think, extremes. One is over managing every single call that comes in to the point that it's just not a fun experience. It's micromanaging. It's horrible. You literally feel like you're being listened to. It's not good. The other side is, which I really don't like. The other side is, it's part of the equation. We spend dollars, leads come in, X amount fall out, we yield a profit of Y. That mentality to me is a business owner that has either given up, they've hit, as you've seen some of my content, they've surpassed that $3 million mark. I believe when your gross revenue hits 3 million, as a business owner, you start losing control. And it's not a negative thing. I'm not pointing at you and judging you. I'm just saying you're losing control of all the aspects of all the details of everything going on. And that's okay. And that's okay. So many business owners are at that point. They're trying to grow. Maybe they're at $1.5 million. They're trying to get to 2.5. Maybe they've got a huge expectation in their brain, and they think they're going to get to 4, right? I hear big number jumps on a regular basis. The question is are you being realistic? Again, you're going to hear a common denominator in here. Are you being realistic about where your company is today in growth? Are you being realistic about your budget? Are you being realistic about the operations? So getting back into, you can spend all the dollars in the world, right? I used to say, and still do on a regular basis, you can lead the horse to water, but it is your job. It's your job, business owner, to make sure that watering hole has water, right? So what do I mean in my good old Southern antics is that you spend hard-earned dollars to tell people your story, to increase your brand awareness, to hopefully be in the right place to convert leads, and then you lose them. Or you look at historics and your conversions have gone down. I can't tell you how many times that correlates with not listening to phone calls. It is so important to hear, not in a let's go fire Johnny and let's go fire Sally mentality. Let's help train Sally and Johnny on an opportunity that we missed here, right? Listening to phone calls allows you to plug the holes in the boat, right? And the boat can be very big. The boat can be getting bigger every year. But those holes seem to be getting bigger every year too. These are the inefficiencies, excuse me, the inefficiencies I'll talk about after about that $3 million mark. If you can address those today, if you can address those right now and get ahead of them, you're going to be so much further ahead than your competitors. Guys, again, no matter what channel you're on, thank you so much for your attention. We're at 27 minutes and we're moving right along. Checking in with your teams is a huge one. Communication goals, setting with your teams, internal marketing. I learned this really kind of right in my face in healthcare. And in healthcare, it is so much about patient education, but it is so much, depending on the size of the office, but it's so much about internal communication as well. So many people are touching the customer, if you will, and it's not just in healthcare, it's in your business too. I won't rattle off a lot of industries, but literally just think about your own business. Are you actually communicating regularly with your team? I'm not saying a War and Peace long email that no one's going to read, right? We send these emails that are so long. At the same time, we're spending hours every day on this micro content, right? Unless your audience is like 60 years old, which is respectful. I have a huge segment of my audience that I talk to that is over 60 years old. I send them long pieces of content. They want it. They want it. They love it. And I love that. I'm almost 44. I am not going to love a long email. I'm not going to read it, right? Unless it's just styled and delivered in the exact way that my eye wants to see it, right? So make sure that you're understanding who you're communicating with. Make sure that when that call comes in, that person on the phone is just the happiest, most energetic person in the world, or literally your sales dead. Excuse me. Check in with your teams. I'm not going to go on an HR kick. That's out of my lane, but you don't have to be in business for very long to understand. If you don't check in with your people, they're going to leave you. They're going to leave you. And I won't say younger, but it is true. The younger audience will leave you. And it used to be for not that much money, they will just leave you. Today, I believe that there's so much more opportunity for people to make a living. They don't have to come work for your business. They just don't. And so they could have 2 or 3 side hustles that's just making their life just happy as anything. And that's wonderful. As a business owner, you cannot be ignorant to that fact. You cannot think, hey, I've got a business and I've got this many and I've got it. So people want to, no, they don't. They don't. And especially if you don't have your stuff buttoned up in operations, they might see a facade. They might see, a bunch of logos riding around town or whatever your situation is. But when they get in, when they start eating lunch there, when they start, drinking water from the water cooler, when they start checking in on the Zooms, whatever the thing is, if you guys even check in on Zooms, they're going to start seeing the actual culture. The operational aspect, again, why is the marketing guy talking about operations? Any marketer watching this understands you can get all excited about all the creative, about all the copy, about all the campaigns and all the money being spent. You can get excited about all that all day long. If it is not being converted, if it's not being measured, if it's not being measured, if it's not being converted, if it's not attaching to revenue or an upward lift of the brand itself because it was intended that way, because it was set up with key metrics to be measured along the way, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're just spending money because you feel like you need to spend money, not with an intent. We need to get this product from here to here. How are we going to do it? We're going to do it with a budget. We're going to do it with intentional campaigns. How are we going to measure it? Right? So I'll get off the soapbox. Internal marketing communications. Guys, this is a big one. Just highlight this. Write it down right now. Just do this just today. Just try this one thing of this line item on our screen. Just do this one thing. Put together a one sheet. This is a one sheet, right? One piece of paper. Create a one sheet that just says what the goals are. Just write them down. You don't even have to share it yet. Just write them down. High level. Don't get in the weeds. Don't get in the weeds. I don't need to know how much you're paying for the cable bill and how much did. No, don't do that. This is how much money we made 2 years ago. This is how much money we made last year. This is how much money we're going to make this coming year. Maybe break them down by the service lines or the product that carries the largest weight that we've talked about, right? Whatever it is, but just for step one, write it down. Write it down. Next, expectations, guys. Okay, we are 32 minutes. I'm going to start moving through this a little faster. Guys, thank you so much for joining. If you are on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, X, or Threads, I really, really, really appreciate your time. And thank you very much. Top 34 topics I talk about with business owners on a regular basis. Expectations. I say on a regular basis, what I talk about with business owners more than marketing is expectations, is setting expectations to what you think your marketing is going to do for you versus what, in my experience, what I think it's going to do for you. Sorry, guys, I had a notification and I had to click a button. Next is budget alignment with revenue. And again, that goes, we talked about that a little bit earlier, but it's setting expectations. This is where you should be extremely kind. There's no reason to be, rude about it, but you have to be direct. You have to be factually based, real when it comes to expectations. And I think it's a lot in delivery. It's how you are communicating with the business owner across the table from you. In some cases, that alignment of expectation, what they think they should be getting for those dollars or what they believe this campaign should yield, doesn't align with what it's going to do with reality. And so, getting very real about expectations is very, very important, and you should spend a lot of time on it when it comes to your marketing, when it comes to your expectations, your leadership team. The last points I have on expectations are measurability and reporting, right? Big ones. And this might actually, if there's one to make on this line item, write out the ways that you are measuring lead flow in your business, that you are measuring the different things. Maybe it's actually just a list of things that you're measuring, right? We measure revenue, we measure expenses, we measure profit, we measure overtime, we measure travel, we measure, and list out the things. And I find, whether it's in my own business, whether I'm helping a business and build a strategy, a lot of times it's simply just talking it out loud, right? So many business owners are just single owner businesses. They don't have whiteboards in their office. They don't have a lot of brainstorming going on. So while marketing is fun and campaigns are exciting, and that's what we spend a lot of time doing, that's awesome. You really have to kind of peel the layer back a little bit more again and again to get down to, are we all on the same page with expectations? Are we all on the same page with what this campaign should do and should not do, right? Making sure that everyone's on the same page before going down that path is extremely important on measurability and reporting, right? So measurability is one thing, right? Hey, we measured this, we measured that, we measured that. But another thing I learned in healthcare is reporting, documentation, right? As my my personality style, I am not someone to sit down and do documentation. That makes my head kind of want to explode. I will tell you, it is extremely important in your business. It's extremely important in your business. Make sure that you have documentation that says, 2 years ago, we decided that product A was, see where I'm going with this, right? If you're just now tuning in, go back and watch and you understand why these two products are being brought up again. But you have a product in your business that's leading in revenue. You have one that you make more of a profit in that you need to lift up in revenue. Make sure that you're understanding the reporting, understanding that as a team, you decided to put X dollars into social and paid email campaigns versus SEO and pay-per-click campaigns. And the thought process was to run a split test of you see where I'm going with this. Document, write out, put on paper what the plan is. That takes it out of your brain, but it allows, I kind of always say, everyone in the room, no matter if it's a budget, it's the plan, everyone in there, I always kind of do this visual when I'm talking to business owners, everyone needs a thing to point to every time. If not, you got to You got to start pointing at the people, right? And that's never a fun collaboration, right? Document, post your budgets up, document your plan and put them up and allude to them on a regular basis. Talk about them in your internal communications, right? If you're going to put out a big Facebook campaign to talk about lifting the product of blah, 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 whatever it was, tell your team, guys, in the next 2 weeks, we've got a huge campaign coming out. You might see it on Threads. You're probably going to see it on LinkedIn. Please like, share, support it. Anyone that comes into our office, anyone that calls on the phone, we're changing our hold message. We're getting all behind lifting up this second product, right? This might be a product. This might be a service. This might be a bolt-on that goes right on to this other product or service that you sell. Think about how you are communicating and reporting to your team, to your leadership team, to yourself, quarter over quarter, year over year. What is the process for why we did what we did, right? Okay, that's expectations. Leads. Oh my God, I talk about leads all the time. Everyone wants to talk about leads. Leads. I want to pay money. I want my phone to ring. It doesn't work that way. There is a market, right? There's a market for everything. There is a market of where people are going and buying and selling goods on a regular basis. And some people are not in the market for your product and service on any given day. Business owners don't like to hear that, right? They want the cash register to ring every day. That's cool, but it's not reality. Making sure that you have a comprehensive budget that looks at your branding, right? The top of your funnel, telling people about your business, dollars you spend to tell your story. There should be no expectations there about generating leads. You will generate leads. You'll generate great leads, but that is not the expectation with branding, right? Then you move on down the funnel into lead flow. So when you're looking at leads, and again, you go back to a pen and paper and write it down. Write down how many different ways leads come into your business. What is the channel allocation? Do they come in from Yelp? Do you get them from Facebook Messenger? Do you get them from, list out the places, it doesn't matter, right? Do you get them from email marketing? Do you get them from the newsletter that you put out? Whatever the thing is, write them down and understand where your leads come from. Now align it, go back into and growth right here, right? Growth and budget. Make sure that you're aligning all of these together. When you're looking at year over year growth and expectations for that, and pacing to goal, when you're looking at the budget that you've set to hopefully fund your growth in your revenue lines and your different products and services, when you're looking at all that, getting to channel allocation, and now you see where we start stacking this on top of each other, right? Where we came from, where we are right now, where we're going. Now start educating yourself. Whether you're a business owner that is already doing some of this, probably half-ass, or if you have an agency that says they're doing it, and anyone in between. Again, content I put out on a regular basis, you have to ask difficult questions. It's not about being rude. It's not about hurting someone's feelings. It's about it being your business. It's your money, right? In order to grow your team, in order to make more money, you have to be a good steward of the money that's coming into the business. In order to do that, you have to understand what's going on. You might be really, really good at creating this product and really good at it. You've been doing it for years. People love this thing that you do, but you suck at marketing. You suck at analytics. Anytime that you have to do anything other than do this product or service, you just kind of get in your own way. That's an overwhelming majority of business owners that I meet with on a regular basis. They're in their own way, and it's okay. It's okay because you're the majority. My job at 20 years in is to tell you that you're in the way and to get out of your way. One thing is getting in the weeds with your numbers, right? Growth, budget, setting expectations, listening to your phone calls, understanding lead flow, year over year analysis, new customer acquisition costs. That's a big one. Did you ever watch The Profit on CNBC? Some of you did, some of you didn't. One thing that he would always do is he'd go into a restaurant and it would always be like a burger or whatever. And he would say, how much does it cost to make the burger? And, 7 times out of 10, they would never know the answer. And so he would look at the bread, the lettuce, 2 pieces of lettuce, a cheese, and literally a piece of paper and a calculator and start just adding up the cost. That's exactly what has to happen in your business. You have to look at how much money are you spending across all channels that attribute directly to the new customer being acquired. And so take a real hard look at that. You might find that your numbers are really out of whack. You might find that they're directly in line with how they've been in years past. All that said, you need to know how much it costs you to acquire a customer. We help business owners by channel. And so we look at a historical range of new acquisition cost on channel across all channels over a couple of years. And again, kind of drawing that visual of where's the business been, where are we right now, and where are we going. Next are reviews, guys. We've got about 18 more minutes. Thank you so much for joining. No matter what channel you're on, I really, really appreciate you. If you've enjoyed this conversation, if you've gotten anything out of it, please follow Cole Evans or Evans Company and Evans Company across all of the channels. Thank you very much. Guys, reviews. What is the process for your customers to leave you a review? Very, very, very important, okay? It really doesn't matter the type of business you are. You need people telling your story, right? If you are an older person and you're going to say, if you're watching this, you're like, well, mine's word of mouth. Mine's word of mouth. This is word of mouth. They're called reviews, but that is word of mouth. What is the process for your customers to leave a review? Very important. You should make it easy. If it's complicated, they're not going to do it. They could have had the best experience in the world, but now you want me to do these other 7 things? No, not going to do it. Make it easy for your customer. Response process. How long does it take you to respond back when they leave you a review? Hopefully it's not long at all. Hopefully you are very, very quick to respond. So definitely take a hard look at that. And then talking with customers. The best review in the world is literally either picking up the phone or if you can, going on location, if you're a home service business, to the customer and speaking directly with the customer. Very, very important. Take time to hear, to read in detail what customers are saying about your business, right? Very important. Social media. Distribution channels, audit engagement. Did y'all see me spill coffee all over me? So social media, distribution channels, audit engagement, audit ads. So you can be on all the channels all the time. You can be. The question is should you be? So I think it depends on time and resources. Should you, as a baseline, be on as many channels as you can? If you can fund it, if you have the content for those channels, yes, you should be. There are different audiences on those channels that want different types of media. Your business, your service, your products being there on those channels, delivering that type of media to a potential audience consistently. That's a good idea. That's a great idea. The question is are you going to half-ass it? Are you going to say, I'm going to do all these channels, and then you're not doing it at all? Are you saying you're going to do it, but you've got them just auto respond? You got them auto posting all the stuff across all the channels, right? The way things were done like 10 years ago. Are you actually leveraging social media? So take a really hard look at social media. It's the line item on budgets that I find business owners are still, they've come to grips with what it costs to be, depending on the industry and the business, of course, to play ball in pay-per-click. They understand, they really have come to grips with that cost. Now we're seeing kind of this crossover, if you will, where business owners, in my opinion, that I speak with on a regular basis, are still coming to grips with what social media costs, right? The truth is social media has changed so many ways and so many times, but there has been one truth that has been common, right? And that is, you have to be able to put content out on the channels that people want to consume. You have to be consistent, and consistency isn't a quarter. Consistency isn't a year. Consistency is multi-channel for periods of time that are being split test and cross-promoted across where it works. And businesses don't like to hear me say this because they've been burned so many times, but here's the reality. And again, I'm painting a big brush in saying this, but I have no problem saying it because I believe it to be true. When you put intent and comprehensive planning behind your content, behind your sales, behind your marketing, behind your internal communications, behind understanding your leads, when you put intention around any of those things, you have progress. Your numbers go up. Business owners, I kind of do this pause when I say this because it's true. If you're not spending consistent amounts of money across social media and testing it, you don't sit in a seat that can judge what social is and isn't for you. You can't do it. If you have not put out consistent organic content across multiple channels and split test creative and looked at engagement and looked how they fed into an email list and see how that ties back into conversion on sales, you don't sit in a position of judgment. You can't. You haven't had the experience. What you feel is that line item that says social media, that's thousands of dollars a month. It should be. Why you're still wrapping your head around why they can't, all you're doing is posting blogs, right? Uneducated business owners about what media is today in walking into 2025 as compared to what just a few short years ago it looked like. So distribution channels, taking a real hard look at that. Audit engagement, making sure that you're looking at, I can't tell you how many times I've seen businesses that have bought an existing channel from someone else. They had years ago, they had these huge followings and they have zero engagement. There's no one engaging on anything. And it's because you don't buy audiences. You can't buy an old channel that used to buy, candles and then try to sell them weed eaters, right? As an example. But I digress. Audit engagement, audit your ads, look at your ads. If I have to throw a dart and the dart is you're really good at ads or you suck at ads, I promise you suck at ads. It's okay. It's okay. Remember, you're probably really good at creating this product or service, but you're probably really bad at ads, right? One of the most cost-effective ways to put dollars out, split test across channels, and get measurable results back into your business is through paid ads, organic content across social channels, and definitely paid ads, if I didn't already say that. If you're not seeing that, number one, if you're not investing in it, and if you're not seeing a direct correlation back into your business, you're in your own way and you're doing it wrong. So dedicate time and intention around taking a hard look to what your social media is not doing for you and what it should be doing for you. And again, that's directly aligned with our friend here, expectations. Okay. Next is content. On content, guys, again, if you're on TikTok, all the people lining in there, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Guys, there's hundreds of people have joined in here. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Guys across the other channels, thank you very much. Again, we're wrapping up here. 2 more points on media and content and media. And I hope you've gotten something out of the live today. I hope this has helped you kind of look at your business in a little bit of a different way. And again, if you are not following me, jump over to all the channels and follow Cole Evans. On content, I will say this is a mandate, but I do ask clients now, I put it on the budget immediately, is to update their budgets. Update their content. Most businesses are excited about spending dollars on this channel or that as an example, but they are not excited about having team pictures of their team taken. They're not excited about having a brand video put together of their entire team doing their thing and the company picnic and the other thing. And for some business owners, it's just a lot. For some people, it's not. You got to make a schedule. You put a plan together, you do it. But And again, there's spectrums of business owners. Very intentional, very driven, very goal-oriented, maybe on the way out. Maybe sales have really hit a bad spot. Maybe they're retiring and they're just kind of coasting, and that's cool. Wherever you or they are on that spectrum, make sure that you just have a realistic expectation about what any and all channels are or are not going to do if you feed content that to me on my phone looks like it's 5 years old, right? The technology in the phones and the cameras change on a regular basis, and the overwhelming majority of our brain are looking at images taken with phones. And so if I'm accustomed to looking at a very crisp, clean image, and you start sending me, if you're an Android person and you send an image to Apple or an Apple to Android, or my God, if you send a video, that quality, that I'm being dramatic, but that's kind of what I'm talking about. When that video comes across, you're like, I'm not even going to watch it. I know it's going to be so horrible. I can't even, I don't want to watch the video. That is the psychology, if you will, of the consumer. When they get to bad creative, they won't even go down further into learning what the bad creative is about, because the image was crap, right? You showed me an old way, not in a cool old way, just in a, this is dated and you don't know what you're doing old way. So update your content. I tell people, because it's true, outside of a page that is being intentionally driven a lot of traffic to, outside of the home page of the website, your team page is the second most viewed most viewed site on every website I've ever seen that has a team page, ever. Why? Because people want to see people. A lot of businesses are past the point where a team page doesn't make sense, and that's fine. The overwhelming majority of you are not. You've got a handful of employees. They have a story. They have an anniversary date. They have cool things they're doing in the office. They do something. That's why you hired them. You need to put them on the site. You need to build content around them. You need to show people a little peek behind the curtain in your world. Maybe it's, how do you make your product or service that we've talked about, right? Hey, what's up, Roof Nuts? I see you on there. What's up? All right, guys, a couple more minutes here. I have 5 more minutes. So updating content, videos, video updates, internal media, and then distribution. So what am I talking about there? On internal media, I've worked with clients where in some cases their office or their warehouse and office were so large that they had multiple TVs, set up throughout their locations. And more than a few clients over the years that I've worked with that have had those setups, they're not maximizing those screens, right? So when under content, when I'm talking about internal media here, I'm talking about leveraging screens in your office to tell your story, to reiterate the social that I'm going to see when I get on my phone and I go outside, to talk about Sally's anniversary or Johnny's certificate, whatever that thing is. Utilize for your internal media, your screens. If you have multiple screens in your building right now and you're not putting up consistent internal communications for your team, do that this week. It's a very, very big deal. Your team will notice it. They will love it. And they will start setting an expectation that they want it on a regular basis. And it kind of trues up a little bit of the culture, if you will. And when people see change, specifically change that they told you that they want to see, you will see things shift in your business, period. You will get more out of your team. You will get more collaboration. You will lose that feeling as a business owner that so-and-so isn't pulling their weight, or so-and-so I feel like isn't blah. There's a new energy level when you as the leader start leading, right? Content, look at your distribution channels. As always, we talked about this on social media. Make sure that you're on the channels that make the most sense for you, okay? Last thing on media here, guys, with 3 minutes left. Thank you so much, my friends on TikTok. Thank you for everyone else across all the other channels. I really, really appreciate this. This is the handful of times I've done Restream, and so there's a lot going on, but I really, really appreciate it. The last one's the big one. It's the big one for a lot of businesses that are, I like to point at my hair when I say this, but that are the old gray hairs, right? So many small business owners have spent, because they've had to spend lots of dollars in media to tell their story. There is a generational understanding, and I am very grateful for the 20 years that I've been in this industry to be able to make this statement. But there's a huge opportunity for business owners that are accustomed to spending the dollars that they've spent for the years, in the decades, in some cases, that they've spent on traditional advertising. And please don't misread me. Traditional advertising has its role. It 100% does. But it also is not the only role, right? It's not the only placement that you should be looking at when you're looking at a comprehensive budget. So current placement of your media, where are you spending money? Where are your dollars going right now? Percent of total budget. If you're spending this in radio and this in television and this in billboard, write it out, excuse me, and put percentages beside it. Okay, 35% of our marketing budget is going into radio. 20% is going, you see where I'm going with this? Write it down, put a visual together of where the dollars are actually going. And then review your creative. Business owners, again, painting a broad brush, business owners buy the TV rep that comes in the door. A couple months later, they buy the radio rep, and the radio rep brought back their digital person. So they bought some digital, and the radio and the TV rep did their commercials. And so the outdoor person heard that and saw it, because that's where they prospect from. And then they came and they sold you billboard. But because you weren't listening to that and you didn't want to hire more of it, you've got creative running over here. You got creative running over here. You've got creative running over here, and none of it's saying the same thing. Maybe it all has your logo. Maybe it all has one phone number, if you're still actually putting phone numbers on your creative, right? Continuity within your messaging, a comprehensive brand strategy that connects all of these moving pieces is so important to growing your company, right? So important. Guys, we've got a minute left. I just want to say thank you so much. Today, we've talked about growth. We've talked about budget, operations, expectations, leads, reviews, social media, content, and media itself. If you have taken any value away from this conversation, I would greatly appreciate a follow across all the channels that you have the time to click and follow on. I am the cobbler shoe scenario, right? I am always trying to do what I am consulting with my clients to do, whether that be sorry guys, I'm having to do the puzzle on, perfect. I had to drag a piece on a puzzle on TikTok because I have a 5-minute warning. And I want to make sure that I'm putting out content across multiple channels. Exactly what I've told you over the last hour is what I do in my own business, what I consult with businesses, creating scalable content across multiple channels, looking at both your traditional and your digital media, looking at your top line and your bottom line lead flow, looking how all this works together, aligning your budget, looking at your customer data, along with your financials, putting together a dynamic dashboard for clients to see everything in one time. I did a video the other day that talked about how you might have an analytics report. You have a report from your SEO team. You've got the call logs that come in if you're tracking calls. You've got all these different reports coming at you. Most business owners aren't looking at any of it. They're not. They might get really in the weeds with this, or they might know this report to look at these high points, but they're not taking all of these and stacking them on top of each other and looking at them in a comprehensive manner. That's what we do. So at Evans Company, we help small businesses, manufacturing companies, home service businesses, healthcare. Those are the three main industries we stay in on a regular basis. Businesses with, and again, painting a broad brush, but over $3 million in revenue are usually on a growth path, are usually engaging us because they need help. And again, these are the common 34 topics I talk about with business owners on a regular basis. So if your business needs my help, shoot me a message. I'd love to have a conversation with you. Thank you again so much for your time. I hope you guys have a great